well, and then we can bring in the Facebook Live, and I'll let you know when they're live.
Mm. Oh, damn it. I forgot to change the fucking date on the feed. Damn it.
You want to restart it?
Oh, no, you good. I'm editing it now. I can always go back and change it. I ain't tripping.
Okay. All right. I'll give you a 10-second run off before I hit the live button, so you know.
All right, I'm just about finished editing the post.
Yeah, tell me when you go click live, and then I'll tell you when I go live.
I'm already live now. I'm just waiting. I just got my
Oh,
starting
perfect.
shortly up. My vocals is live, but I don't care.
All right, welcome, Sports on the Hill podcast. Got myself and Carol. We're both live here streaming, and it's so fun, Carol, to be back with you live on air. Just making sure everything is live. We're streaming on lots of different platforms all at the same time as we always do. But Carol, the return. I'm so excited to have you back for episode 300. How are you doing?
Oh man, I had to come back for episode 300. It's been hard being away from the show, but I know it's in good hands with you and the round table and Dujanay and all, and Anna and Gil who we have on tonight. So I always, excuse me, as always, I appreciate the effort and the hard work you guys putting in my absence. I know it's very strange for me not to be on every Monday night for almost over 6 years. Almost every Monday night, we've been on the air, and it's been about what 6 months since I've been on a regular basis. So, to know that episode 300 was coming up, it was definitely uh, gave me a certain feeling because thinking back to when we first started, just the idea of me doing the show, and then inboxing me to offer your services and your knowledge and expertise. Two guys that never met, that just spoke every now and again on Facebook talking sports, and it's look back 6 years later, 7 seasons and 300 episodes, and some of the great content that we've covered, and the championships, and just bringing real sports news back to the airwaves that we're not getting on a regular basis from the DC sports media. Granted, there are some, credible folks that I do follow. There are some colleagues that I would shout out, but I'm not because I don't get the same love in return. But I give them their credit for, where they have reached to and the things that they're doing. I'm not a hater. So I mean, I'm not knocking them for their hustle. They've had opportunities that I haven't had, and kudos to them. But it is what it is. We making our path, we making our way, slowly but surely. But like we always say, you might not like us, you might not want to hear us, but you're going to see us and you're going to hear us, so it makes no difference. So, like us, love us, block us, makes us no difference. We still going to bring you the best sports around, and it's just
Yeah, it's so exciting. I do want to let people know we're gonna have lots of awesome guests on throughout the night that have been a part of this run, and it's so cool. The different fan groups that we've been able to make across different platforms, the different people we've been able to meet along the way, the different. You mentioned championships and stuff like that, and so throughout this show, we're going to be celebrating some of our favorite moments. I'm going to ask a bunch of our guests what some of their favorite moments of the 300 episodes are. But Carol, it's just so great to hear your voice, and I'm so happy for you. It looked like you had a great trip to New York,
oh
and I'm so
yes, most
happy.
definitely had a great trip, great
Yeah,
trip.
yeah, a great trip to New York. That's awesome, and I'm so happy to see you and your lovely lady living life to the fullest, and that makes my heart happy. And it's been tough doing this show without you. It's something that we've done together for 7 years, but I love the team that we have around us that support us. I mean, there's been times during my paternity leave where you picked up slack, or during summer breaks where you cover baseball, and it's been such a great bond that you and I have been able to cover for each other. We've been able to really do this for such a long time. I mean, the reason I really want to celebrate 300 big is not a lot of podcasts make it out of it just a couple of years. Some of them be lucky if they hit 100 shows, 200 shows, but 300 shows is really, really difficult, and it's been really fun to do it with you. I'm gonna let my dog out real quick, but let's talk a little bit about some of your favorite things.
Oh, definitely. Definitely one of my favorites. Well, a couple of my favorites are the championship episodes. I mean, just the fact that we followed it from the beginning of the season to the end to see the ups and downs, the trials and tribulations, the injuries, the crazy fan talk, the who needs to get fired, who needs to get traded, and to see the teams mature and turn into a quality team that will go on to win a championship. And especially in the case of the Nats, when myself and Paul called it, not calling them winning the World Series, but when they were 19 and 31 and everybody was talking trash on them, we said that this team was going to get it together. Bear with it. The season was early, and then things started fall in place. And then they traded. I remember when they traded for Gerardo Parra, and the first interview he gave, he said that we're going to the playoffs. Lo and behold, who knew that he would be the spark that this team needed to get there? And just following it, going to the championship parades, press credentials to see the now defunct Valor. I'm going to be probably looking to get in with the DC Defenders. I have a couple of contacts that I'm gonna reach out to, and now that my weekends aren't taken up in car sales, and I have the opportunity to possibly go to some games, I think we will be giving some nice in-depth coverage of the DC Defenders like we did the Washington Valor when we had press credentials and gave you behind the scenes, and we're working on interviews and such. So be on the lookout for that. But it's been a joy doing the show, period, because it's what I love. I grew up on sports talk radio, and seeing the sad state of it, I'm glad to bring some of the old school style back, which some of our listeners have hit me up and told me that that's why they do tune in. And I always do want to appreciate all of you guys, because if you didn't tune in, we'd be sitting here talking to each other for 2 or 3 hours sometimes. So appreciate y'all checking us out and supporting us through these 300 episodes, and who knows, 300 more, and who knows where it take us. I got some things in the works, so who says we'll be on Facebook in another 300 episodes?
Right, exactly. I mean, I want to give a quick shout out to Twitch. We're broadcasting on a bunch of different platforms, but the Twitch community this last year, Carol, we've got over 200 followers, so we've doubled in our size, which is huge. And I had a goal of trying to hit 500 followers by episode 300, and I'm happy to say we hit 504, so we smashed that goal. I really appreciate everybody for tuning in, and Champ just resubscribed for 14 months. Carly just gave a cheer in chat too, which I really appreciate. So all the support they've been able to get to help cover the bills and make this all a possibility. The Zoom and the website, and I really the subscribers. I really appreciate those people for going above and beyond, especially in this last year. And Carol, we're coming up almost on 2 years being an affiliate on Twitch, which is really cool. So there's a lot of opportunities over there. And it's cool that we're on lots of different platforms. I love our Facebook following, over 2,000 strong over there. And it's been a really great run. I'm going to bring in Gil, who's been somebody who's been a big part of our hockey coverage, while you've been away. And I know, so I'm going to bring him in now, but I know Anna wanted to be here tonight, but she's picking up her family at the airport, I believe. They're coming back tonight. And so, she'll be on in a couple of weeks. I do want to say a quick little programming note at the top of the show. Next week, I'm going to take a week off of sports talk. We hit 300, which is my goal. I'm going to be doing a special art stream, because a lot of times you hit big milestones like 500 followers on Twitch. You do a big celebration stream where you do something a little different than you normally do, right? So I'm going to do an art stream. It's going to be Pokemon themed. There's a lot of people who wanted me to do a stream around Pokemon. It's Pokemon Day next Monday. I thought it was a perfect day to do it. Anybody that comes in the chat can tell me their favorite Pokemon. I will draw it into an awesome mural, and I'll celebrate all the different followers and friends that we've acquired through these last couple of years. So definitely stay tuned on my Twitch feed for that next week, and then we'll be back in 2 weeks with episode 301. And in March we'll have a couple episodes leading up to our season 7 finale, Carol, and then season 8 will start in April. But it's crazy to think we're 7 seasons pretty much done at this point. We have 1 month left, but it's been a really incredible run. But Gil, thank you so much for being a part of our hockey talk this year and the last couple of seasons. And I do want to give a shout out to Anna. I know that she wasn't on tonight's show, but she's been a big part of this as well. But Gil, you had a great podcast with Anna and a special guest. We'll highlight what's on your podcast at the end of the hockey segment. But great show this week. I highly encourage people to talk about it. It's been a little bit of a downer week for Caps fans. But Gil, welcome back to the show. And how are you doing tonight?
Pretty good, Robbie. Thanks for having me on again. And yeah, it's been a nice wild ride. Before we go on, I mean, you're thanking me, but I really should be thanking you. You guys, you and CP3 took a chance on me when I was starting to make my little podcast bigger than it was, and maybe it's not still, but I mean, you guys kind of helped us get on the map as far as non-mainstream podcasts like CP3 was talking about, getting the word out there because like I said, maybe you don't get the kind of coverage in DC sports like you should, and that's why we're here. But you guys took a chance on me, 6 years ago, and it's been a great ride ever since. And so, whatever little I can to help you guys celebrate your ride, I'll do.
Yeah,
Hey man,
thank you.
appreciate
It's
that, Gil.
yeah, it's been fun to have you as part of our team and podcast partners, and I love what you guys do over there, and it's been cool to have a reciprocal relationship, which is fantastic as well. And we have another special guest. I'll bring him on in a little bit. We have a Caniacs fan to talk a little bit of the outdoors games. I thought it'd be fun. He's a Twitch friend of mine, and so it's something I've always wanted to do more of is bring some of the rival fans on to talk to them, either before or after a big game, just because I think it'd be interesting to get a different, everyone gets our capital take. It doesn't necessarily, it's cool to hear the other side a little bit as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm looking forward to that in a little bit. The rest of the podcast will go as follows. So we'll talk about the first 2 games. We'll bring in our special guest for that outdoor game. We'll take a look at the week ahead. We're then going to switch gears, talk a little XFL action. I'm going to get Carol's thoughts on 300 shows, and then I'll let Carol go. I'm going to bring in the rest of our XFL roundtable, which will include Dujane, Champ, and Arun. We're going to break down that XFL game even more in depth. It was a great game, a big win for the Defenders, 22-18. So we'll talk about that. We'll also talk a little bit of Commanders news. I'm going to get Carol's take on that real quickly in just a second before we get into hockey talk. And we'll talk about that, and then we'll switch to NBA, talk about the Wizards. We have the roundtable together. That'll be a fun show. We had a lot of wins to talk about, and the NBA All-Star Game weekend, and preview the upcoming week. So big show for episode 300. Thank you to all the guests for being on tonight. Carol, I really want to get your quick thoughts on the new offensive coordinator position before we get into hockey talk, because it's the biggest news coming out of DC this week.
Definitely. If you didn't know and haven't heard, the Washington Commanders parted ways with Scott Turner at the end of the season, and we're on a mission to find a offensive coordinator that can make this offense go with the talent that they have on the field. Being that they have now hired Eric Bieniemy, the offensive part. I can't say offensive coordinator, offensive assistant, ex-offensive assistant, I should say, of the Kansas City Chiefs under Andy Reid, who had won 2 Super Bowls in 5 years, and led one of the most potent offenses in the NFL with one of the top quarterbacks. But he's bringing his skill set and talents to the DC area as a full-time offensive coordinator. So this is a logical step in his progression as a coach, because some fans are upset because they feel he hasn't received a head coaching job and he's been turned down 16 times to be a head coach. That should mean something. It does mean something. It means that some of these teams exploit the Rooney Rule by bringing in a minority to interview for a job, and still decide to hire who they wanted to hire just to appease the league and dot the i's and cross the t's. So I shoot that down for one. He's been under Andy Reid for since 2013. Andy Reid learned under Bill Walsh, who is the guy that innovated the game. So therefore, there's called progression, there's called evolving as a coach, and it's called, getting the opportunity to show what you've learned. And that's all we can do with this man. He's been quality, you know, in the college ranks. He's been quality as a coordinator in the NFL ranks. So I have no problem giving him a chance as the offensive coordinator with the talent that we have on his team. Question mark, quarterback as always. Coach Ron said he's told him that quarterback one would be Sam Howell going into the season. Excuse me, Heineke is no longer under contract. Will they re-sign him? It's a possibility. But you have to take into account it'll be a new offense for him. The reason why he was here is because he's been under Scott Turner's offense the entirety of his career, so he brought familiarity to the team and the offense. So that's another X factor that everyone has to take into account. Because I've seen rumors online that some internet, so-called reporter is saying that the assistant head coach already has said that he's going to re-sign Heineke and have him as the starter. For one, if you believe that, I got some swampland in Florida for you. You can build a mansion on right now. It's going real cheap. Only want $1 million for it. Trust me. You can build on it. Because, first of all, no offensive coordinator in the NFL is going to say those words when the offseason hasn't even really started. So, please don't believe that stuff. Keep an open mind. I'm not saying we're going to the Super Bowl. I'm not saying any of that. I'm saying that he was a ex-NFL running back. So he understands running the ball is key, which was our issue with Scott Turner. He would not stick with the run until coach forced him to, and then we saw Brian Robinson and Antonio Gibson show out. So I believe this is an upgrade. I believe this will help this offense go in the right direction and hopefully lead to more wins. So more wins, happy fans, playoffs, yay, everything's good. We still talking about the possible pending sale of the franchise. From what I've heard from my sources, the deal is definitely going to get done. Snyder's, gone. I know a lot of fans are going to be happy. But I always preface this with y'all demonize him, but then you never know who's coming in after him. You can get an owner that comes in that doesn't want to spend money or wants to tear everything apart from what they build up. And I know a lot of fans say, what if they build up? If you don't see the foundation and the players and everything that Coach Rivera has done since he's been here, which I know a lot of you don't because I've been having to spell it out in colored markers and crayons for y'all because you don't understand big words. He is changing the culture of this franchise. We have talent. We have salary cap room. We have, people are talking about the future as in because there's something to build on. Normally, we're always talking about, we have to rebuild. We got a new coach coming in. Who's going to be this? Who's going to be that? They have a plan. They're sticking to it. Just have to be patient and let it develop. And that's my 2 cents.
So real quickly, because I don't want to get too far down the football rabbit hole. I know that you and I could talk for an hour about this, but it's going to be interesting to see if Jeff Bezos can pull this off, right? Because he's got the most money. So if he wants it, he can have it. And he's talked about wanting a football team for a very long time. I really don't know about the rules with him owning Prime, Amazon owning Prime. Like, how can
he has too many conflicts of interest? Too many.
Know, but it's going to be interesting. He's already talking about willing to sell the Washington Post to get it.
I mean, of course he is, because it was a tool for him to get the team. Who was the one breaking all of these so-called scandals and stories? It wasn't nobody else. I've been on the record to say that this is Bezos is exactly Bezos is pushing this narrative. How is it that that you can have an investigation and nothing comes out, no women directly link anything to Daniel Snyder, then all of a sudden after Bezos goes to Congress, 19 women come out to say that they have allegations against Snyder, but we have no dates, we have no time, we have no proof, but we have 19 women that came out and said that he propositioned them and spoke to them harshly when the investigation before led to zero direct contact with Snyder. It was Larry Michael and some of the other executives, but there was no direct contact. But all of a sudden, after Jeff Bezos goes to Washington, there are 19 people. After the Congressional Oversight Committee comes out of nowhere, we didn't have that when Donald Sterling said those racist remarks. And that was, to me, equivalent. But now we have a congressional hearing about a football team and what's going on behind their closed doors, and some of these big corporations and some of the stuff they're getting away with, and we're not investigating it. Don't get me, I can go into the Jeff Bezos conspiracy triangle here, but then I might not make it alive tomorrow because he probably Amazon delivered a disease or something, and I don't want that problem right now. I'm having a happy life.
All right, well, let's get into some hockey talk. But I look forward to an interesting offseason for sure.
Definitely.
The this is a bad week for the Capitals, so I kind of want to rush through it. We'll get to our guests. I'm not going to spend too much time on it. I'm just going to go through the scoring real fast. I'm going to get each of your guys' quick thoughts on it, and we'll kind of move on to that third game as quickly as we can. The first game was on Valentine's Day, so if you see the decor behind me, my poor dad went to 2 games last week. The first game he took me, we had a great time, but we lost. And then he went on Valentine's Day, so he went to back-to-back Caps games. He has not done in like over a decade, and they also lost that one. But he got really nice towels, so I appreciate him
Hey, as long as he got something out the deal, man.
And he gave him to Zach, which is very happy about him. So I had to put them up in here. And so yeah, it was this first game was rough. They scored first, but TJ Oshie came back and tied it in the McNugget minute as we talk about it. Yeah, and so I thought the things were going well, but just early in the second period, the other team came back. Paul Stastny scored 2-1, and then right away we scored again, and Joe Snively scored his first goal of the season, and he was called up. And he hadn't even been playing that well in Hershey, but he got called up for this game. My dad said he thought he was the best player he saw out there when he went for the live game. I mean, it makes sense. He had an assist on the TJ Oshie one. He got this goal. Trevor and Van Riemsdyk got the assist on this one, tied it up again. But then, just a couple minutes later, Hurricanes score, make it 3-2, and then it's clamped down on defense for the third period, and nobody scores. But I thought the effort at times was better in this game, at least much better than the Sharks game. But ultimately, not a great result. And obviously, this is our first game without our captain, who unfortunately we were kind of guessing last week to what we thought might be a problem with his dad, but in fact his dad did pass away just after the show last week, and he went home to Russia to bury his dad. So our heart goes out to Ovechkin's whole family, and the team we were hoping was going to rally behind him, and at least in this game it wasn't meant to be. They got a 3-2 loss. Gil, what are some of your thoughts on this one?
I gotta agree. I love the compete level. A much better effort than Saturday before with San Jose. It was a great back and forth game. I would have been more than okay with if they had managed to take it to overtime, get the loser point. But I'm still okay with this game. It was obviously the best game they played all week. They didn't give up. It was the Joe Snively show, and when he's called up, he makes things happen. I just wish he could stick a little longer than he has, but he was making things happen out there. They were clamping down as much as they could, and as I always say, all you got to do when you want to check the effort level is check the shot totals per period. Caps hit double digits all 3 periods, so they were trying. There no doubt about that, and just didn't get the result.
Yeah, I kind of felt like if they had that effort for the 2 other games this week, we would have gotten a win in one of them. But
I mean,
this level of effort.
honestly, I checked out some of this game I was watching on my phone. Like I said, I didn't get an up close and personal view, but like you said, the complete level there. But you have to also, Carolina's a first in the division. So, and then not having Ovechkin, that that changes the way teams play the Caps because they don't have to worry about Ovi at all. So, if those players aren't stepping up with the more ice time and the added defensive pressure on them, that's I think that's going to come through this stretch because we had an issue like that in 18. They went through a stretch where they didn't couldn't find themselves, and then they had some adversity. They had some young guys in the lineup, and then it finally clicked once they got up and got elevated and got the opportunity and got used to being in those key spots. So this, I don't want to look at this stretch as just the negative. I got told Gil before the show. I'm gonna try to look at it as an optimistic, as they have a lot of injuries. They're still trying to find their chemistry, and we saw the team played pretty well even with the injuries that they had. And then they started playing at a high level, and then players started to come back, and that's when you saw the dip. So that's why I think it was with them trying to refine that chemistry that they found, with the new guys in the lineup. So I think, excuse me, with that and with Ovi not being there, I think that's what's leading to this low right now. And unfortunately, they're in sixth place, but there's still plenty of time because it's just after the All Star break.
Carolina was going to be a tough out no matter what.
Yeah.
I if you go to our Facebook page, I posted something from MoneyPuck.com, which should have caught people who've been watching their attention at least. But I'll explain it here. What I posted was a listing of the top 20 pairs in terms of expected goals against per 60 minutes average. And if you look at the top eight, all three Carolina pairings,
Mm.
all three defensive pairings are in the top eight,
Wow.
and two of them were under two as far as giving up less than 2 goals a game per 60 minutes on average. So Carolina was going to be a tough out no matter what. And you take away the top scorer on the team, it was going to be an uphill climb no matter what.
Definitely.
So just to give you an idea of what they were looking at this week.
Yeah, for sure. And it's just been tough. I've been in a lot of Capitals message boards this week. Everybody has high thoughts on the Capitals. Some people are like the season's over. Some people are like we need to fire Laviolette right now. Gotta go. Soon. And we're only 1 point out of the last playoff spot. People would have thought we'd already been eliminated based on the reaction, but it's that's Facebook for you. But at the same time, it's like it's tough. We've been so good. One of the things I was looking at is we haven't had a 3-game in regulation losing streak at home in like forever. Like pretty much Ovechkin's entire time he's been here, he's never lost 3 in a row in regulation at home, or almost. It's been years, and so people need to realize how lucky we've been, right? It's not necessarily like we have one little downturn and people are like, oh my God, the whole entire era is over. And it's the tough thing is there's been a lot of injuries, as Carol was talking about. There's a lack of chemistry, but it doesn't mean the season is over. You should still support the Capitals until the day they're eliminated, and then you should support them anyway, right? So like, it's not about just supporting your team when they're a winner, and that's the important part of being a fan that some fans forget about a little bit. But Carol, any final thoughts before we get into this Florida game?
Nah, let's go ahead and get into this massacre.
Yeah, this game is awful. It was 3 goals against by 7:20 into the second period with no goals for before Dylan Strome got a goal at 15:51, and then they matched that 2 minutes later. So it's not like we gained any momentum from that. Made it 4-1. The third period, I love Nicholas Backstrom and Kuzi trying to make a game of it early. Made it cut to 4-3, and for a moment I thought they had a shot. There was, we pulled our goalie, and they got 2 empty net goals. So obviously, it's more like a 3-4 game than it is a 6-3 game. But it's not what the scoreboard reads at the end of the night. But it's frustrating because I really was hoping we'd use this as a tune-up game, not a tune-down game for the important game for the outdoor game. But Gil, what are some of your thoughts on this one?
Well, Florida made that trade that kind of drastically changed their makeup. Last year they won the President's Trophy and they had that go-go offense, which isn't so much this season, but they still got some jump to them. So there was no way they were going to play run and gun. Now, I don't know if that's what they were trying to do in the second period, but I think what doomed them was the slow start. But they got it going in the second, and then I think they just ran out of gas and just not enough weapons. You're still missing your top goal scorer, your top offensive defenseman, and as far as that goes, that no flow from that, and they just couldn't get anything going when they needed to. And Florida still got the guns, so that's pretty much what happened after that. I don't think the effort was bad necessarily. They just didn't come at it, didn't have the start they wanted, and were chasing the game. And usually when that happens, they don't play very well.
Yeah, for sure. Carol, speak to that for a second. I'm gonna go grab something from upstairs. But give your thoughts on this game.
Yeah, I didn't really get a chance to check out a lot of this game. By the time I got a chance to turn it on, it was already, like you say, 2-3 nothing. Um, just to piggyback, Florida, they're, fighting for their playoff lives also. And they're not having a season that they had with the offensive firepower, but they're finding, they finding the same adversity the Capitals are with, not having their personnel, trying to find their way and transition with the players that they have on the ice. And like I said, it's just going to, work its way out. Still plenty of time in the season. That's why I don't understand the panic. It's just right after the All-Star break. So you still got almost pretty much half of the season left. And, hopefully we get the players back healthy. They get some chemistry. Ovi come back. You know that he's going to be, motivated and, ready to rock and roll after losing his dad. His dad was a major, influence in his life and his hockey career and his playing. So I feel like, not to say this to be cold, but I think this is going to be that's going to spark him to be even better than he was in the first half. I mean, he had 30 goals in the first half of the season already. So now with him losing his dad, I know that he's going to be extra focused in. And I think I saw someone said that during the losing streak that he actually tweeted the team, said he missed them, and he'll be back soon. And so like I say, every season has its adversity. I wouldn't want to say that the passing of his father is going to be the thing that turns this season around, but you've seen it happen before in other teams and other sports that a tragedy or something brings the team together and they find a way to start working together, like they say, pulling a rope, pulling a rope all the same way or whatever the thing Trotz used to say all the time. I can't remember what he used to say, but yeah, yeah. So I mean, it could be, everything that's going on right now, who knows when we're looking at a couple of months down the line where this team at after, all is said and done. So that's why I say it's too early to panic and, start being negative and fire this person and trade that person. Just, you got time. Let's see what happens.
Right. We only have 25 games left. So we don't have a lot of time. So we're down to the final, like almost the final quarter
No,
of
quarter,
the
okay.
season. But at the same time, we're still right in it.
Yeah,
So
you still in it.
I think if we can find a way to move Mantha, I think that we still try to do that if we can, just to alleviate the cap space that we need to try to be able to bring John Carlson back when we need to. Because I'd still like to see him come back before the playoffs. I know you could shelf him until the playoffs, like Tampa Bay did, but I think he'd be very rusty, and I'd prefer to get him in a little bit earlier. And I also think that we need some of the play that he drives. I know we miss some. Yeah, he's not so great defensively all the time, but he does drive a lot of our offense, and our offense has kind of taken a nosedive, especially like in the power play, without him, helping to piggyback that. So I definitely think we do feel a loss without him out there, and
So
it'll be interesting to see.
quick question, because I know you guys are the position guys. I don't know the positions as well as you do. Say they move Mantha. We were talking about Snively earlier because I like his game also. Would he be a person that could fill into that spot if he played the same position and style? I don't know the wing and all of that stuff like you guys. You guys are the hockey experts. I just know a little bit.
Yeah, Gil, what are your thoughts?
Snively probably would. Yeah, Mantha right now is a bottom six winger, if that. So yeah, I think Snively could fill that role. Snively's got to find some more consistency to his game, but I can see him filling that bottom six role right now. If they decide to move Mantha, the problem is going to be Mantha's contract. But yeah, that'd be fine by me if they decide to slot him in that spot. But coaching staff doesn't like his consistency. That's the only problem with his game that they're seeing. But I mean, if they give him a chance, they let some of these lines develop some chemistry. I think that's got a shot for some success.
All right, well, let's bring in our special guest of the show. I always
Oh
love meeting
damn, he
people,
got the
right?
hat and the jersey. Could we just have one? You got the hat. I'm surprised he ain't got the cup in the background. Jesus.
Well, we want to welcome Ryan, that E flat guy, if you're a friend of ours on Twitch, to the show. Ryan's somebody I've wanted to have on the show for a couple of years now. I'm one of his original followers over on his channel. He does music. He's a great pianist, and he's got perfect pitch, and he does a lot of really cool stuff. And but today we have him to talk a little bit of hockey. We always have some banter back and forth. He's a Canes fan.
Hey Robbie, for the first time we've used perfect pitch and it wasn't a sports term.
I know,
You have just changed Sports on the Hill podcast forever with that term.
There you go.
It's true. It's true. We have talked about it in other contexts before, but never in the music terms. But Ryan, you got two big wins against us this week. We'll start there. Let people know a little bit about who you are and a little bit of your background, and then you can get into some of your thoughts on how your team did this week.
Well, I got to start first just by congratulating you guys on the 300th episode. I mean, that's a big commitment, and that's pretty awesome. And I appreciate you welcoming me into the DC territory here. But but I actually I have grown up in Raleigh, so I grew up with seeing the Hurricanes and also seeing the NC State Wolfpack. I have a lot of ties to the university. Both of my parents went there. My sister met her husband there. I was the black sheep because I wanted to study music. So NC State didn't have a music program at that time. So NC State was out of the question. But yeah, so anyway, so obviously for me, just the spectacle of the outdoor game being at NC State's football stadium where, you know, I was a toddler, like chasing around the mascot, was really cool. And yeah, I think one thing I will say that you guys will appreciate is when I found out that Ovechkin wasn't going to be playing, it changed a bit of like my anticipation for the game. The spectacle kind of started to outweigh like the game a little bit. He's such a big presence, and I'll tell you this too: is out of all the teams I've seen play in the NHL and all the players, Ovechkin's the only one that I'm like always looking for. Like, if he's on the ice against my team, like I am worried. Like I want to know where he is. I don't even feel that way about some of the best ones, like even like McDavid. But he's obviously he's got that powerful shot. He's not afraid to be physical. For me, he's been like the most dominant force in the NHL, which is unfortunate for me.
Yeah.
but so anyway, so yeah, I think with in terms of like the game itself, I mean, there's such a pop in what I think people maybe don't understand is actually like how closely tied a lot of the people on the team are to the community. I mean, when I was growing up, like my uncle was helping out at Rod Brindamore's house when he was a player, and they're just all these different connections. Players who live here really like live here, and I think they enjoy like being out and about because people will maybe acknowledge them but not bother them too much. But so I really was skeptical that they weren't going to play up to that moment because of all the all the moments before that they've shown they kind of been ready for. And last thing I'll say, I guess, because I'm kind of rambling here, but
No, it's all good.
kind of speaking to what you guys were talking about with like the frustrations of, some of the fans and everything. You only need to get in with the Stanley Cup playoffs. Doesn't matter if you top of the division or you're just squeaking in. I mean, the NHL, as you guys know, it's sometimes a game of weird bounces. Your goaltender can change the outcome. One team can like dominate the play, but if you got a hot goaltender, then you might still steal a win and might even steal a series. And
Trust
so
me,
yeah,
no.
it is a bit premature for anybody to be saying the Capitals are out of things. I certainly don't believe that for a second. I know I've seen the struggles you guys have had with some big names, big players out. I mean, it would be like, everybody's got to have that next man up mentality, but at a certain point, it's hard to replace the people that are not there.
Right. And the fact that the lines just keep on shuffling every week, and it's just there's no way to build that chemistry that you really need in hockey. There's a lot to unpack with all the things you said. I think one of the things that I thought was really interesting was the the spectacle of the game. And I've been talking to a lot of people that went to this game, and some people were a little unhappy with how things went down with the lines and getting in and the tailgate situation. And it's interesting because a lot of the people that I watch news clips were actually Carolina fans that were frustrated because how they set up stuff for a tailgate for Wolfpack games, and this is
Yes.
totally different. And so
Yes, it
usually
was.
people like flow in, and they're used to these big numbers, but somehow they didn't get the right people in the right place.
I have,
And
yeah, I have some behind the scenes on that. So pretty much always for the NC State games, they have assigned parking. So they tell you which gate. There's so many ways to get into the stadium, but they quite literally the directions for the tickets that the NHL put out with the parking pass. They said come in on Edwards Mill, which is one of the roads. There's like 5 different roads you can take to get into the arena. So everybody's that doesn't know what to do. They're going in on that one road, and it would have been so much better if they had actually assigned parking and said you're going to be in this section, so then people can go like check a map and like look and see like what section they're in, and if they had given people a little bit more information, that would have cleared things up. And also, they I guess they scrimped a little bit on either security or whatever. There was not nearly as much presence earlier on in the day as there should have been with police and stuff directing traffic. So there are a number of issues there, and
I heard a lot of lines for food and for other things, and NHL tried to bring in their own people, but I think that was kind of a mistake as well because you have people that know how to do vendors in that place. You think that they should work with those a little bit closer, and so a lot of people that went to this game really complained about the experience, which was unfortunate because you want the outdoor game to go well and it to be a good experience, win or lose, but. I got a lot of messages. I'm not going to play all the voicemails that I actually had back to you that people had sent me. So thank you everyone for sending me the information. But it did not look like people had a good time. I mean, for the Carolina fans that they got a win. I think in some ways, Washington won their first 3 outdoor games, so they're kind of due for a loss because I don't think anyone had ever won their first 3 outdoor games in history. And obviously without Ovechkin, I was hoping we'd be able to put a little bit more effort out there early on. I think the game is a little bit closer than the score, but the game kind of got away from the Capitals. Once it kind of avalanches like that, and you don't, the cavalry's not coming to save you, it becomes a difficult game. Let me ask Gil real quickly his thoughts on the outdoor game.
Well, it was a great atmosphere. I don't think. I mean, I logistics aside, the presentation was great. I love the college band. They covered the college band. The Wolfpack band was superior, I thought. And they added to the atmosphere. So it was everything you wanted if you're a hockey fan and you're watching an outdoor game. So if you're watching it on TV, great. Maybe not so much if you were there, because of the logistical nightmare that it was. And real quick before I forget, great supporter of our show, the Power Play Point podcast. Want to give a shout to Robin King, who was actually there, made the trip down to Raleigh to see it. So just want to say hi to her real quick. But yeah, I like the spectacle that was the game, even though the result wasn't. I mean, I'm not going to go too far into how the Caps actually played. It was very disappointing, obviously. Laviolette did what he did in calling that timeout, which was the right move, but then it didn't stick. But I mean, as far as a television event, I thought it was pretty good. I love the way they started with the Jimmy Valvano speech. That got me into it. The dedication to him, that was great to see. So as an event, yeah, it was great. But as a Caps fan, maybe not so much with the result. But I mean, it is what it is.
Yeah, I didn't get a chance to. I was going to check it out. I was in New York. I was going to go to the bar and check it. But by the time we, figured out where we were going to go, was the score. Said that I should go ahead and do something else. But I just want to say, playing this team twice in a week, and like you said, without your top scorer, they're solid defensively. They can score, and once they get a lead, they can put the clamps on you where you get nothing. It was good to see Wilson come back. He's one of my favorite players behind Ovechkin, pretty much, and him to get his first goal. That's good. So, I mean, playing a team like this twice in 1 week, and then not having your top player, that's an uphill battle right there in itself. And 4-1. First loss in the outdoor game, and I had to hate to say this, my first one I didn't get actually watch. So I just thought about that just now. So yeah, it sucks, but they're a quality opponent. I would like to at least maybe got into overtime and got 1 point. But when you're playing a quality team and they're at home in an outdoor event, we've had that experience when they were in Annapolis and the way they played and won the game. So you got to take your hat off, and Carolina played the quality game and move on.
Yeah, I'm happy to say that we're the only team I think that has two home victories in outdoor games. We've been very lucky. I also didn't get to watch this. I watched Ant-Man, which I highly recommend if you're a Marvel fan. And I had a date night with my wife to make up for our anniversary slash Valentine's Day. So I was going to I got to jump at the chance if my parents are ever going to watch the kids. So, and then I got out and it was only 1-0. And the second I got to the car, it was 2-0. I turn on the radio, I hear 3 and 4, and then I just turned that radio off. And so, it was a frustrating game, to say the least. But, Carolina is really good. I really see a bright future for them, and I think that they've been one of the best teams all season. Ryan, what are some of your thoughts on Carolina's season so far?
I mean, it's what's really really funny is there was a little period in November where they strung together a bunch of close games and there was like a few overtime losses and some of the fans were starting to get antsy, but it's like, you guys, we're still getting points most of the time, even though they're not playing their best. Like that's what you want. I mean, that's kind of like the dream because nobody's gonna go, anywhere near 82-0. I mean, look at the Bruins; they're on like a record-setting pace, but everybody's gonna have those losses in those days. And Gil, I was gonna mention, fun little local tidbit is actually I'm connected with the marching band director for NC State. He actually
Nice.
do music for the church that he goes to as well, and I couldn't believe he was actually there the next morning. I was like, "What time did you get home?" He said 2 o'clock in the morning, and I was like, "Man!" But the band was awesome, and I was asking him about some of the stuff they did that I know they hadn't played before, like the Rock You Like a Hurricane was not like in their repertoire. They like learned it for the event, and he said, "Yeah, we actually." I asked him if they arranged, if they arranged it. He say, "Oh, yeah, we usually do that like ourselves. We usually arrange the stuff ourselves." So I mean, yeah, it was so fun to see them. I mean, that was probably probably now that I think about it, like my first exposure to live music was going to those football games as a little kid and seeing the marching band, you know? Um, so, uh, so yeah, so it was just a really cool moment. Yeah, I'm also sorry the game wasn't closer. I think, just kind of selfishly, I wanted as many eyeballs on that event as we could have. And I think if I don't know what the eyeballs were like towards the end of it. Like you said, just based on the survey here, it wasn't as close of a game, so not as much of a reason to watch. But yeah, so again, I don't want to take up too much of your time, but I appreciate you guys for having me on, and yeah, I think Carolina, you know, they're gonna have as good a shot as anybody this year to win it, but you never know. I still think I think Colorado, even though they haven't been playing as well, I still think they're gonna find a way to get back to the finals, and we'll see who matches up against them in the East. Because I mean, there's there's like 5 or 6 teams that could come out of the East that are. I mean, I don't know. I mean, again, it's 16 teams, so really any of the 16 teams that make it could end up coming out of it. That's part of what makes hockey so great is you can't really predict it very easily. It just makes it so much fun to watch.
Yeah, for sure. You just kind of get into the big dance, and you never know what it goes from there. I mean, I can think of a lot of teams. I was there when Capitals were a President's Trophy team, and Halak comes around and just shuts us down for those last 3 games. And they're an 8 seed, and they knock out the number 1 seed, and then anything can happen from there. So it's like. And we've already beaten Boston once this year in Boston, one of the very few teams to do that in regulation, and that was with our banged up team. So you just got to make it. We already have a goalie who won the cup last year, so he could get hot at any given time as well. And but Ryan, I hope that people do check out that E-Flat show, that E-Flat Guys show on Twitch. I will link to it all in the show notes as well on the podcast. But Ryan's a great sports fan and a good friend of mine, and I really appreciate you taking some time to talk about this tonight. But Ryan streams on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays at varying different times on Mondays and Wednesdays, usually during the day. Fridays are usually at night. Ryan, any final thoughts that you want to leave us with before we let you go?
Just a fun little story. Again, thanks for having me on, but I almost forgot to mention this. But so I got to see when I was a kid, I got to see Rod Brind'Amour's house when he was a player. And, it's a pretty nice house, obviously, but, lots of interesting, interesting kind of setups and stuff. But there's this one room we get to, and it's completely unfurnished. There's just like carpet. I'm just like, it's a little room. I'm like, what is this? And my uncle was like, oh, that's where he sleeps the night before the game. He wants to like be focused and ready. So he would just sleep on the bare floor and just like, I don't know. I was like, you're not pulling my leg on this. He's like, no, I mean, this guy is just, his drive is pretty insane, but also from what I've seen, I mean, he has a balance to his drive, especially when it comes to other people. He's not a bully, but yeah, he's a different person, in a lot of fun ways, and maybe some frustrating ways if you're watching from the outside because he's so intense, but also cares a lot. He was really excited about the outdoor game because his wife is his wife's dad was a big NC State basketball coach at one point, and yeah, so he's got like a lot of ties to the university as well.
Well,
Cool.
Ryan, thank you so much for being a part of it. I hope that people check out twitch.tv/that E-Flat Guy, and if you want to know what that E-Flat Guy means, you can go check out his show, and he'll definitely tell you all about it. But it is a sneak preview. It is about that perfect pitch, so it's related to that. And but we'll hopefully have Ryan on for more extended time later on in the season. But thank you, Ryan, for joining us for part of episode 300.
Yeah, super fun. Thanks, guys. Have a great night, and I'll be hanging out in chat.
All
Thank
right,
you. I
man. Take it
appreciate
easy,
it.
man.
All right. Take care, Ryan.
Thanks. Bye.
All right. So upcoming week, we're gonna go through this pretty quickly. We got Detroit, Anaheim, Rangers, and Buffalo. The first three of them are at home. Tuesday is Detroit, Thursday Anaheim, both 7 o'clock games. Then we got one of those daytime Saturday games. So that one's against the Rangers. Unfortunately, I think I'm going to be working then on Saturday, but I hope to catch part of it. And then we have that quick turnaround again when we go to Buffalo on Sunday at 1 o'clock. And then we're going to go on a bit of a road swing where we're going to Anaheim on Wednesday, March 1st, and then to San Jose for that rematch. That's a 6 o'clock game on Saturday, March 4th. So it'll be a 3 o'clock local time over there in California. And then the following Monday, when we're back for episode 301 of Sports on the Hill podcast in 2 weeks, we'll actually have a preview show for the Kings game, which starts at 10:30 that night. So we'll have a lot of games to kind of break down. So again, 3 at home and 3 on the road. 3 at home again are Detroit, Anaheim, Rangers. 3 road are Buffalo, Anaheim, San Jose. Carol, what are your thoughts on these next 2 weeks? We're hoping to get Obi back in the next week or so. But what are your thoughts going forward?
Uh, Looking at this schedule now for the next 2 weeks, this 2 week stretch is going to make or break this team. Honestly, hopefully Ovechkin can get back, but like you mentioned, that Saturday Sunday quick turnaround, playing the Rangers at home, then going to Buffalo, playing a quality Sabres team. They're not the same Buffalo team we're used to. Capitals just running over. And then going on the West Coast, playing the Ducks and the Sharks after they just played the Sharks a couple last week. I think this 2 week stretch is going to determine if this team is going to make the playoffs or not. I think.
Yeah, I would think that this is such a key 2 weeks. Gil, what are some of your thoughts?
110% agree with CP3. There's a lot of games in here where they can get 2 points, but if they don't start the games off right and play the 60-minute effort, then they could easily find themselves on the losing end. So, but yeah, these two next 6 or 8 games are the run up to the trade deadline on March the 3rd, and yeah, it's going to be make or break, because if they don't start collecting points, then they're going to be they're not in a big hole right now, but that's going to create an even bigger hole, and it's going to be a lot tougher to start passing teams, and they're going to have to make some big decisions come the trade deadline. So I figure, okay, so this week, 3 games, they got to collect 4 points, and start there, start small. Alan May said, if you win the season game by game, you don't try to win all the games in one game. You take it one game at a time. So, well, let's take this 1 week at a time. It's 3 games, 6 points on the line. They get 4. I think they're in good shape.
Yep, and then I think they got to get 4 on the next one too. I think they got to find a way to get 8, from these next 6 games, kind of thing, if they can. So, obviously winning 4 and losing 2 would be ideal going into that trade deadline. Real quickly, Gil, before we let you go, I do want to say that you had a fantastic podcast. I want you to explain to our viewers who your guest was real quick. But before we do that, I do want to get your quick thoughts on the trade deadline. Do you think we move anybody before it's all said and done?
Well, I don't see. I'll preface this by saying what I always say about him. If I owned a bar in the DMV, this man would drink for free anytime he damn well pleased. Lars Eller. And I throw Joel Ward in that category as well, just if anybody's curious. But anyway, unfortunately, I don't see how they don't move him at the deadline. They almost have to, because you got to move. He's not a big contract, but you got to move him to make room for some of the younger guys that are come up. They have a log jam at center, so I don't see how they don't move him. I don't know what else they're going to do. It's really going to depend on how this next week and a half plays out. But I would be very surprised if he's not moved at the deadline.
Yeah. Yeah, it's going to be an interesting 2 weeks for sure leading up to that. But Gil, let people know who you had on your show this week. And I really want to thank all the people that have been joining on Facebook and on Twitch. We've got a lot of great listeners. Thank you, Prestige Worldwide, for gifting my dad a subscription. We hit our sub goal, which if you're on Twitch was 15 subs for the month. So I really appreciate that as well. But had some really great conversations with lots of great people, including Tyrone Waller this week. Yeah, thank you for all the background he gave me on going to the game. But let people know who you had on your show this week.
Yeah, so it's Black History Month, and as we try to do, we celebrate the African American experience through the fans and of course the players. I've been highlighting ex-Caps players such as Jason Doig and Bill Riley in their careers. But who we had on this past week was a guy by the name of Dwayne Thomas, and he's a good friend of the show, Lorenzo Robinson. Some of your listeners might be familiar with him. But yeah, he came on with us and shared his experience and how he got started as a Caps fan. He actually started watching the Flyers, not to give too much of a spoiler, but that's how he started, in getting interested in hockey. He lived in the Philadelphia area and then got into the Caps when they became a team in the mid 70s. So he shared his experiences with that. And he also happens to be a former PE teacher. So he had some insight as well as to, what it takes to maintain your composure as an athlete. So I think he's got some good information as far as that goes, because he had some very good observations, I thought, about what the Caps looked like this whole week while they were playing.
I'm halfway through the episode, about 50 minutes in, maybe about 2/3 of the way through. It's a great episode. Highly recommend everyone, if they go to sportsitteachmeeting.com, right click on the podcast partners button, click open a new tab, and you can find the PowerPoint Point podcast there, or search for PowerPoint Point podcast on any of the streaming platforms and you will find it. Gil, you are fantastic. Anna's fantastic. I wish she was on episode 300. I hope that her reuniting with her family goes well tonight. And I look forward to having both you guys on in 2 weeks to recap this really pivotal 2 weeks in Caps history. And thanks again, Gil, for being a part of these last 5 or 6 seasons of the Sports on the Hill podcast. I really appreciate everything that you've done for the show.
Thanks so much. And Anna and I will be back on. We record Sunday evenings. So if you want to call in, just leave a message on our Facebook page, either for Anna or myself, and you can come on and have your say.
Before you go, I meant to ask this of all the guests that are the returning guests. Do you have a favorite moment from the 300 episodes? I was going to ask everyone that question tonight.
I've been thinking about that, and I actually have two. First, obviously, was the very first time you had both Anna and myself on. This is before she became a regular part of Caps Talk on your show. But the very first time you guys had the both of us on to kind of plug our podcast. And right up there along with that is when you had the celebration when they won the Cup right that Monday after. I'll never forget that one either, where you had a bunch of us fans on, including Anna and me. So, yeah, those probably two favorite moments of Sports on the Hill.
Yeah, that Capitals one I rank in the top 5 favorite episodes of all time. So I'm right there with you. That is that doing 300 shows. It's worth it just for that one and for the baseball one that we celebrated when the Nats won as well. Those moments are why we do this, and I'm so happy that you're a part of those shows for sure. But thank you, Gil, once again, and we'll talk to you in 2 weeks.
Thanks again, guys.
All right, Gil, take it easy.
Take care.
All right. Carol, did you watch much of the XFL, or do you just want to give your thoughts on 300 and get out of here? I'm going to let you choose what you want to do next.
Well, I actually checked out the highlights of the XFL game right before the show. I didn't get a chance to watch it live. As I said, I was out of town. I definitely like the defensive effort, the pick six, the fumble on the end of the game, even though it was 4th down. Greg Williams, I've always loved him as a defensive coordinator. I have to look at their roster, the quarterback King. I was watching him on the zone read, the way he doesn't care about running up the middle. He looks like he's small, but he finds a way to get the job done. That running back Armstead, he looked really nice in a few clips that I saw of him. So the defender team is definitely looking like they're going to be quality. I have to check out the league more. I know you've done more research on the XFL than I have, so I have to catch up a little bit. Like I said, my schedule now. Hopefully I'll be able to devote some time to the XFL now. But I definitely like what I saw from the first, from the highlights at least, and hopefully this weekend I'll be able to check out their next game, and I'm sure you guys will break it down and end up on the 300. Like I said earlier, it's what we love doing. We love bringing to you. Unfortunately, right now I'm not able to, but in a few months things might be changing. I'm looking at some options right now. So CP3 might be back sooner than I thought I would be. So stay tuned for that. But as always, appreciate all the support. Appreciate all the contributors. Gil, Anna. I know the DC round tables in the wings. Dujanay. I know he's probably about to come on, but I got to get ready to bounce. I want to stick around, but I got to go. Just appreciate all the love and support. I rapped to him offline, but just appreciate it, man. Working with you, learning the stuff that I've learned, computer wise and on my iPhone and doing stuff. So it's just been a great collaboration. Looking to take it, to another level once I get my personal financial stuff taken care of. Y'all know there's always something going on with me, but always got love for the show. Always got love for the people that put in the work, and just hope y'all have a good rest of the show because I got to get ready to bounce.
All right, one last question before I let you go. Can you give me maybe top two of your favorite moments that from the 300 episodes that stand out to you, maybe?
Uh, I guess I'll lump in the championship shows, of course. Uh, I enjoyed having Julie Donaldson on. And
a little update on Julie Donaldson, real quick. I'm actually seeing her on Wednesday. I'm going to a Capital Women's Speakers Association. My wife is on the board over there. My mom is also a member, and they're having her speak to this women's association, and they're allowed to bring your spouse. So I'm taking the day off of work to go hear Julie talk and go mingle with her afterwards. So I'll definitely tell her what's up.
yeah, definitely do, and see if we can get her back on and having a chance to reach back out. But jog her memory so I can slide in her DM and see if we can get another interview set up, especially with all of these moves coming on. I know she's busy with everything going on, but see if you can get a little leeway in there so I can slide in the DM and try to get another interview.
Yeah, I love that interview, and I hope people go definitely check that out for sure. That was one of my favorite moments. We've gotten a lot of great interviews throughout the years, and
Yeah, I think that one and Doc Walker.
Players. Yeah, Doc Walker. I was gonna say that was still one of my favorite moments.
Yeah, I think that's one of my. I think that's one of my top. That might be my favorite because I got to try to get with him and get him. It's been so hard to get into him now that he has his own podcast and doing things. It's hard to catch up. Even though I got his personal phone number, it's still hard to catch up with that man. But yeah, that's definitely one of my favorites, if not favorite, show doing it with him because the words of wisdom that he gave us and the insight that he gave us, I loved every minute of it.
Yeah, for people that don't listen to the audio podcast, you can actually hear some of those words of wisdom before every one of our shows. I know a lot of people watch this on YouTube or Facebook or on Twitch, but if you actually listen back to the audio podcast, I love that clip from both him and Haley Scrupa. They were both phenomenal and two of my favorite moments for sure, especially on with having her on to the run to the cup is a pretty incredible couple of weeks. Especially, I believe it was right before we beat Pittsburgh that night. It was a pregame show of the playoffs. That's got to be up there for me as well. But Carol, thank you so much for joining us. I'm going to do a crossover. I'm going to bring in Dujanay and Champ as well as we let you go. But I could not have done this show without you. When we started the show, you were going to be the star, and I was going to be the guy pulling the strings behind. And then, big shout out to Hurt for giving us a shot and saying, look, I'll produce you guys. You two just go at it and see what you guys got chemistry and see what you got. And here we are 300 episodes later. And it's been an incredible run. And I'm so thankful to get to do this with you. And I'm so thankful that you picked up the time, with paternity leaves and stuff like that when I couldn't. And I've been able to do that the last couple of weeks for you. And I know that we'll get to do more shows together down the line.
Oh yeah, it's definitely coming. Like I said, I got some changing up that I'm about to do. So schedule about to change up again. So I'm probably have nights free whenever I make my transition. So yeah, I'll be back sooner or later. I'll be back soon.
Good. All right. Carol, thank you again for everything, and we'll talk to you soon.
All right, man. Y'all have a great rest of the show. Tell the guys I holler at them, man. Have a great rest of episode 300. Appreciate all your efforts, Dujanay, DC's People Champ, everybody. Love y'all, and catch y'all next time, CP3.